This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Everyone was going crazy 2 weeks ago when an unknown startup from Finland called Donut Lab announced at CES that it had achieved a stunning solid-state battery breakthrough. It claims to have hit 400 watt-hours per kilogram, a 5-minute charging time, and 100,000 charging cycles. Even more, Donut said it can quickly scale up for mass production. But the chairman of S-Volt, a battery maker in China, says Donut is a scam. He said, quote, "Any technician with basic knowledge would recognize it's a scam." And he may be right. But to be fair, S-Volt is working on its own semi-solid state batteries, so Donut's tech could be a threat to its business. Moreover, S-Volt's chairman also let a bit of his bias show through. He told the media, quote, "China's technology is the most advanced globally. If China can't produce or perfect it, companies from other countries certainly can't either." As the world becomes a more contentious place, and as governments ramp up their defense spending, a number of automakers are starting to make military hardware. General Motors develops military vehicles with its GM Defense unit. Volkswagen is looking into building military vehicles in Europe, and Renault says it's been approached by France's defense ministry to help it develop a French drone industry. The automaker will work in partnership with the French aeronautics and defense contractor called Turgis Gaillard. There aren't many other details, but Renault says it's participating because of its capabilities in designing, industrializing, and mass-producing high-tech products. Chinese automaker GAC revealed design sketches of its upcoming AION N60 EV. The model will offer 2 electric motor configurations with outputs of 110 and 165 kilowatts, or 148 and 221 horsepower respectively. The motors are paired with LFP batteries, which achieve a range between 410 and 630 kilometers, or 254 to 391 miles of range. But what caught our attention with this model is that it was styled by former BMW designer Benoit Jacob. Jacob created the first-gen BMW i3 and i8, as well as the 4 Series Grand Coupe and 5 Series GT.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless Neovi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
The Renault Group, including Dacia and Alpine, saw a double-digit drop in its commercial vehicle sales last year. But growth in passenger cars at all the brands pushed global sales up 3.2% to a little over 2.3 million units. An expanding electrified lineup also helped. Hybrid sales hit about 400,000 units, up over 35%, and EVs were up nearly 77% to 194,000 units sold. Thanks to new models like the A290, Alpine's version of the Renault 5, and the A390, Alpine's first SUV, the brand turned in a record year, selling nearly 11,000 vehicles in 2025, an increase of almost 140% compared to 2024. And the A390 only launched at the end of last year, so there's a good chance that momentum carries into this year. And speaking of record sales, Lamborghini sold more cars in 2025 than it ever has before. Like Alpine, it also delivered nearly 11,000 vehicles, driven by models like the Urus SUV and the Revuelto, the company's first hybrid V12. However, Lambo only sold 60 more vehicles than it did in 2024, so its growth was just over 0.5%. It was only a couple of years ago that Jaguar sold 64,000 vehicles in 2023, but that was nearly halved in 2024 to 33,000 units, with the automaker's decision to stop making all its models and transition into a high-end luxury brand. And according to dealer sources, Jaguar is only targeting annual sales of roughly 10,000 vehicles with its new lineup of EVs based on the Type 00 concept. While dealers will make a lot more money on each vehicle they sell, with starting prices at 112,000 euros or $130,000, they're still concerned about shifting EV policy and demand for the types of EVs that Jaguar is coming out with. Camo test vehicles appear to be a big four-door sedan, even though the concept is a two-door. And we noticed some productionization efforts, like longer overhangs and a less fastback roof design. As we reported yesterday, Chinese automakers exported 7.1 million vehicles last year, up 21% from 2024. XPeng was part of that growth. The automaker's overseas deliveries were up 96% to more than 45,000 units, and it expanded into 30 new markets last year, now operating in 60 countries. To help support that expansion, XPeng now has more than 1,000 sales outlets worldwide. While the majority are in China, close to a third of the outlets are in Europe, and it also has some in the Middle East and Africa. GM CEO Mary Barra says she's still committed to selling EVs, but based on its EV sales numbers, the company still has its work cut out for it. GM sold almost 170,000 EVs in the US last year, accounting for almost 6% of its sales. But that's lower than the US market overall, where EVs accounted for almost 8% of sales. Even so, GM did have one brand that outperformed that. Cadillac sold over 49,000 EVs, accounting for more than 28% of its sales. And with the Chevrolet Bolt now hitting showroom floors, GM has the opportunity to boost its EV sales, assuming it doesn't see a fall off with its other electric models. Yesterday, we did a story on humanoid robots, pointing out they could pay for themselves in less than a year, even if they cost $250,000 a piece. But then we came across some sales and revenue projections from Hyundai and Morgan Stanley, and it looks like those robots will be a lot cheaper than we thought. Once Hyundai hits its production target of 30,000 humanoids a year, Morgan Stanley says they'll cost about $150,000 each. Keep in mind that the total labor cost for a UAW worker is about $140,000. And since each robot could be able to work 2 shifts a day, it would pay for itself in a little over 6 months. We're not saying that robots are about to replace all the workers in a car plant, but it's pretty clear we're going to see humanoids in factories before the decade is over. And that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Alex Partners, when it really matters. CSP, the Composites Solution Partner. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And thanks to the following YouTube and Patreon members.
At CSP, we work with OEM engineers across the country on their journeys to lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly vehicles. Learn more at thecsp.com.
We act, we grow, we transform, we protect, we rescue. In moments that define the future, we are the partner you can trust. Alex Partners, when it really matters.